Welcome, everybody, to the Free Thriving Mindfully Circle on November 2nd. My name is Ananda Leeke, and I am so happy to hold space for you today. Today, we're inhaling, exhaling, and stressing less as we practice one of the 5 self-care vitamins, compassion. And so, we're going to go ahead and get started with a mindful moment. So, right where you are, I want to invite you to come into a comfortable posture. For me, I am going to come to the edge of my seat, resting my feet flat on the floor. I'm placing my hands on my knees. I am going to close my eyes. If you want to keep your eyes open, lower your gaze. And then join me in taking a few deep breaths, and I'll guide us. Let's inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Inhale again through the nose. Hold the breath, and then exhale with a sigh through the mouth. Take another big breath in. Hold that breath. And as you exhale, tune into the sound of the breath. Now allow the body to breathe at its normal pace. Just noticing how the breath feels as it moves in and out of this body. Breath of life that keeps us alive. Just noticing as you inhale, exhale. Maybe bringing one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart, noticing the sensations of the body as you breathe in, out. Maybe paying attention to the heartbeat. Noticing any sensations in the feet, any tingling or tension in the feet, the legs, the hips, the thighs, the buttocks, belly, the chest, the back, the shoulders, the arms, the hands, the neck, and the head. Just noticing the body, noticing any sensation. And then releasing the hands from the belly and the heart, if they're holding the belly and the heart, allowing the hands just to rest on or near the body. Tuning into the thoughts in the mind, just noticing the mind, just noticing what's happening in the mind, not trying to control the thoughts or get rid of them, but just noticing. And then taking a big breath in, sighing it out. And taking a moment to set an intention for this session today. What would you like to experience? Maybe you just want to be aware. Maybe you want to experience peace or calm. But taking a moment just to set an intention for what you'd like to experience today. And when you're ready, taking one last big breath in, letting it out, opening the eyes, bringing some movement back into the body, wiggling the fingers, moving the wrists, wiggling the toes, moving the ankles, moving the legs, stretching them out, maybe stretching the arms out. If you need to stretch the neck, bringing the chin to the chest, slowly bringing it up, tilting the head so that you stretch the neck, maybe moving the neck from the right to the left, or bringing the right ear to the shoulder, the left ear to the shoulder, but just bringing some movement to the body, maybe just moving from side to side. I like to do that. And as you do that, I want to share with you that we just had a mindful moment, which gives us an opportunity to practice our birthright of mindfulness, this ability to be aware of what's happening inside and outside of ourselves. One of the best ways to practice your birthright of mindfulness is with this breath. That's why you'll find us breathing a lot during this session and the sessions in the coming days. The breath is always available to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And we don't always recognize or appreciate the power of our breath. When we breathe deeply, inhale and exhale, we come into the present moment and we practice mindfulness, which helps us open the door to our awareness. That's that ability to be present to what's happening. And when we're opening the door to our awareness, we can open the door to shift power. Our true power, the inner power that we have, lives inside of our heart. That's where we can be vulnerable. We can pay attention to our vulnerability and tap into it when we choose to practice the birthright of mindfulness. The ability to be compassionate lives in our heart. Self compassion lives in our heart. And today we're focused on how we can tap into compassion by being mindful, especially when we are stressed out in terms of what's happening in our lives and in our country. If you're living in America, the elections, that causes a lot of stress. The holidays can cause a lot of stress. Relationships can cause a lot of stress. Where we share our gifts in our career and our employment can cause stress. Living, just day to day living, can cause stress. So I want to stop and pause here with a deep breath in and then out. How do you define compassion? How do you define compassion? What is compassion to you? And this is where you might want to stop the video and journal or just pause for a second to think about your definition of compassion. I define compassion as the act of never giving up on yourself as you recognize and accept that the emotions you feel, the anger, the jealousy, the arrogance, the judgment, and other emotions you prefer to keep hidden that exist within you show up. So it's when you're not acting at your higher self and you choose not to give up on yourself. You choose not to believe what your inner critic is telling you, is shaming you about, is judging you about. You allow yourself the space to be human. So, compassion is the act of never giving up on yourself as you recognize and accept that, hey, you are a human being and that you are going to feel all kinds of feelings, and you are probably going to demonstrate those feelings by expressing them. And in those moments when you express the anger, when you're jealous, when you show up arrogant, when you're judging, and you have other emotions that you prefer to keep hidden away, that you're still able to give yourself some space and some grace with some compassion. of never giving up on yourself. So let me ask you, are you compassionate with yourself when you get stressed out? When you act out of who you truly really are, when you're not your higher self? I know for myself, I have had plenty of moments, especially in the past couple of months, where I have not been a practitioner of self compassion. I have not been compassionate with myself. And I have found myself stressed out about the elections, about turning 50, I mean 60, not 50, but 60, with menopause, having to change how I'm living, make some modifications, especially in how I'm taking care of my body, what my body is able to do or not do. And I hear the inner critic. Her name is Broomhilda. I call her Broomy for short. And she has been criticizing me. And I have not always shown up with compassion for myself in those moments. One of the things that has helped me be compassionate with myself is my de stress tool. I started sharing my de stress tool during the early days of the pandemic in 2020. And we decided with the Thriving Mindfully Academy and community that in November of 2020, we would celebrate Loving Kindness Month. And that's where we talked about the self care vitamins as a community and as they relate to election, anxiety, and stress. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm back here with the 7 days of Thriving Mindfully Circles for our community to share how we can use our 5 self-care vitamins of loving kindness. That was yesterday. Compassion is today. Non-judgment is on Sunday. Patience is on Monday and forgiveness is on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, we will review all 5. And I have some bonus tools to share with you. So today, how can we use this de-stress tool to stop, pause, create space to remind ourselves to be compassionate? Well, the de-stress tool is an acronym. It starts with S. Stop when you notice that you're stressed out. Stop when you notice that you are having the inner critic inside of you shame you, judge you, blame you, um, tell you that you should be doing better. Stop and notice when you're stressed out and you're not able to have compassion for yourself. Then T, take a moment to breathe deeply. Why? Because anytime that you breathe deeply, you pause and you breathe deeply, you are sending a message to the body, which is where the stress lives, to calm down. You're also giving yourself a mindful moment to pause, to take a moment to make a different choice in how you are talking to yourself, how you are treating yourself, choosing in that moment to breathe deeply and to activate this gift of self compassion. The R is reflect on what's happening in your body, in your spirit, in your heart, in your mind. What happens to your body when you're stressed? I know my breathing becomes shallow. I start to hold the stress in my buttocks. I start to tense up. My shoulders go up. I feel the clenching of my jaws. I may even start to grind my teeth. I may have tightness in my face. The E is energize yourself with more deep breathing and movement, mindful movement to release the stress. One of the things that I've been doing is shaking out the stress, taking time to shake out the stress, move back and forth. And when I start to shake, I get into a dance moment. I give myself a dance party. I turn on the radio, put on a record, put on YouTube, and I start moving. Sometimes I move into my yoga practice. Other times I take a walk. Sometimes I work it out by going to the gym or riding my bike. Or one of the big things I discovered during the early days of the pandemic, and I still use today, is tennis. That really helps. The S, the first S, is set an intention to practice mindful self care. We set an intention when we started today's session. Your intention to practice mindful self care, when used on a regular basis, is exercising this muscle so that when you get stressed out, you have built a foundation inside of yourself to start to use these intentions. And guess what? When you start using something and you build a habit, it comes back to you in those moments when you need them the most. Self care, practicing it, is a birthright, just like mindfulness is a birthright, just like compassion is a birthright. All of the mindful self care vitamins I'm talking about during these 7 days of Thriving Mindfully Circles are birthrights. So set an intention to practice compassion with your mindful self care. And then the last S is start where you are with a small step that allows you to practice mindful self care with compassion. Start where you are. Taking this session with me today, whether you are in person or watching it on the recording, that's a small step. Every time you pause to take a deep breath, that's a small step. Every time you set an intention to have compassion with yourself when you're stressed out, that's a small step. When you stop and you notice that you're stressed out, that's a small step. Taking a moment to breathe deeply, that's a small step. Following the R in the stress tool, reflecting on what's happening in your body, in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit, that's a small step. Energizing yourself with a deep breathing moment or mindful movement to release the stress, that's a small step, y'all. So you get it? Setting an intention to practice mindful self care, that's a small step. All of these parts of the de stress tool are small steps that allow you to practice mindful self care. So we're going to take a small step together with a short meditation to practice mindful self care with compassion. So, right where you are, I want you to allow your body to be where it needs to be. If you want to lay down, let the body lay down. If you want to stand, let the body stand. If you want to sit up straight, let the body sit up straight. If you want to lean back, lean to the side, lean to the other side, or lean forward, that's an act of self care. Do what works best for your body as we move into this self compassion meditation. If you have not closed the eyes, go ahead and close the eyes. If you want to keep the eyes open, lower your gaze. And then taking a moment to connect with the breath, noticing how the breath feels as it moves in and out of the body with some deep breaths. Tuning into the sound of the breath. Noticing the sounds from where you are. And then bringing your awareness to the thoughts in the mind, just noticing those thoughts, not judging those thoughts or trying to get rid of them, but practicing your birthright of compassion, just allowing the thoughts to be, accepting them with non judgment as they are, no matter what they are. Inviting you to bring one or both hands to the heart, noticing the sensations of the heart, the heartbeat, giving thanks for the heart, giving thanks for the body, giving thanks for the breath, giving thanks for the mind, and giving thanks for the spirit, giving thanks for yourself, showing up and carving out some time to practice mindful self care, to de stress in community, to breathe in and out in a safe and sacred space. As you remind yourself about this ability to be mindful, this birthright that you get, as you remind yourself about the birthright of compassion that you have, as you remind yourself about this birthright of self care that you have, and then bringing them all together to practice mindful self care with compassion. Your heart holds the power of your vulnerability, and in your heart lives the 5 self care vitamins of loving kindness, compassion, non judgment, patience, and forgiveness. And today, we're tapping into your heart's power of compassion. Take a moment and ask yourself, where do you need to have more compassion for yourself as you navigate stress? Where do you need more compassion for yourself as you navigate stress? The stress from the elections, the stress from just living and working and being, the stress from relationships, the stress from finances, the stress from any area of your life. Taking a big breath in and then exhale. I'm inviting you now to set an intention for how you want to practice compassion with yourself as you navigate these areas of stress in your life. Taking a big breath in, letting it out, releasing the hands from your heart, and then giving yourself a juicy hug, offering yourself that compassion that you deserve. Taking one more big breath in and then out. Releasing yourself from the hug if it feels good, opening the eyes and bringing some gentle movement back into your body as you listen to some homework. Just some suggestions if you feel called to. What are 1 to 3 things you can do to practice self compassion in November? 1 to 3 things that you can do to practice self compassion in November. And I say 1 to 3 things because every day we get 1,440 minutes. That's right, 1,440 minutes. So you have at least 1 minute where you can devote to practicing self compassion for yourself. All right. I know I just said self compassion for yourself, compassion for yourself. You get it. So, what's 1 to 3 things you can do to practice self compassion in this month? I love to hear what you choose and how you're doing. So, I want to tell you what we've got coming up uh, and invite you back to the remaining days of the Thriving Mindfully Circles for 7 days. So, you know that every day from November 1st through the 8th, I am leading Thriving Mindfully Circles from 12 to 12:30 p.m. via Zoom. Once you sign up, you'll be using the same Zoom link. So you'll get reminders because I'll click on Zoom just to remind you right before the session or a day before the session. So get ready. The next session is Sunday, November the 3rd at 12 noon. We'll get together on November 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You're also invited to join me for Thriving Mindfully Circles on how to navigate change during the holiday season. We have a circle on November 17th and December 8th from 7 to 7:30 p.m. You can go to anandaleeke.com/events to sign up for those circles. Those are offered at a pay what you can basis. Know that if you are unable to pay what you want, you can still come. No one will be turned away. So I hope to see you at this week's sessions and the session on November 17th and December 8th. If you want to stay in touch with me, go to anandaleeke.com, sign up for the newsletter so that you will not miss out on any updates. You can learn about the events at anandaleeke.com/events. I've got 7 seasons of the Thriving Mindfully podcast waiting for you. Just click on the podcast button when you go to the website. And if you want to reach out to me directly, go to ananda@anandaleeke.com. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube and LinkedIn at Ananda Leeke. Love to hear from you. So whether you email me or send me a direct link, a direct message rather, on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube or LinkedIn, I'd love to know how you're doing with your journey in navigating stress as well as change as we move through the rest of 2024. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye.